No one in the town ever talked about the house at the end of Hollow Road, at least, not openly. It was always there, hiding behind a tangled mess of dead trees and broken fences, its windows like empty, black eyes staring out at the world. The official story was that the house was abandoned, but deep down, everyone knew better. It wasn't empty. Ethan and Lucas were two sides of the same coin, best friends who lived for the thrill of testing their courage. They scoffed at horror movies, laughed at urban legends, and treated haunted places like amusement parks. So, when whispers of the house on Hollow Road finally reached them, they didn't hesitate. "It's just another ghost story," Ethan said with a dismissive wave. Lucas grinned, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "Let's go prove it." They chose midnight, the perfect hour for an adventure. As they approached, the moonlight cut through the gnarled branches, painting a skeletal pattern on the ground. The front door of the house hung slightly ajar, a dark mouth inviting them in. The moment they crossed the threshold, a wave of unnatural cold washed over them, a cold that had nothing to do with the night air. Their flashlights flickered erratically, casting long dancing shadows that twisted and writhed across the dusty hallway. The air was thick with the scent of damp, decaying wood and something else, something cloyingly sweet and rotten. Suddenly, with a deafening boom that echoed through the house, the front door slammed shut behind them. Lucas jumped, his heart pounding against his ribs. "That wasn't funny, man." Ethan's voice was a tight whisper. "I didn't touch it." They stood frozen, their bravado starting to crack. The hallway seemed to stretch on forever, far longer than it should have. The walls were lined with old, faded photographs, all showing families standing proudly in front of the house, their faces frozen in unnervingly wide smiles. But in every single photo, the eyes had been viciously scratched out. That's when the whispering started. It was everywhere and nowhere at once, soft voices slithering through the air, calling their names. Ethan. Lucas. Ethan's breath hitched. "You hear that, right?" Lucas could only manage a slow, terrified nod. "We should leave," he stammered, his voice barely audible. But when they turned around, the hallway had changed. The front door was gone. In its place, a grand winding staircase had appeared, stretching up into the darkness. From the top of the stairs, they heard the sound of footsteps. Slow, heavy, and deliberate. Every instinct screamed at them to run, but there was nowhere to go. With a shared look of dread, they began to climb, each step echoing in the suffocating silence. At the top of the stairs was a single vast room. In the center stood a tall, ornate mirror, its glass fractured with a web of cracks. As they approached, their reflections stared back, but something was horribly wrong. Their mirrored selves were smiling wide, predatory smiles. Lucas took a step back in terror. His reflection didn't move. It just stood there, smiling. The mirror began to change. A thick, black liquid started to ooze from the cracks, like blood. A hand pressed against the glass from the inside, fingers split. It was followed by a facer twisted, hollow-eyed caricature of a human wearing Ethan's smile. Suddenly, the room was plunged into total darkness. Lucas let out a guttural scream as invisible hands grabbed him, their grip like ice. He was being dragged, pulled inexorably toward the mirror. Ethan lunged forward, trying to grab his friend, but the force was impossibly strong. "Don't let it take me," Lucas cried out, his voice choked with panic. With one final, blood-curdling scream, he was pulled into the mirror. The surface immediately sealed itself, becoming smooth and silent once more. Ethan was alone. The house seemed to groan around him, a sound of deep, malevolent satisfaction. Pure terror finally broke his paralysis. He ran, he scrambled down the stairs, burst through the front door, and collapsed onto the damp ground outside, gasping for air. When he dared to look back, the house stood silent and lifeless under the moonlight, as if nothing had ever happened. The police searched the house the next morning. They found no sign of Lucas, no evidence of a struggle. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. Only one thing was different. Inside the cracked mirror at the top of the stairs, a new reflection had appeared. A young man standing perfectly still, smiling, watching, and waiting.